G'day everyone, congratulations, you found the champ dog. Today we're back at it with some more Dimir Control, Mark IV. So the big difference in this deck is that I wanted to play around a bit with Midnight Clock. So I saw this artifact in sideboards of a lot of Dimir Control lists earlier on in the format, and I was pretty low on it. I thought it was a bit silly, didn't understand what matchup it was for. It actually took me a little while to realize it's obviously for rogues. But yeah, didn't really like it, dismissed it, moved on with my life. I recently saw some videos of people playing with this, and I thought I'd give it a chance, and I'm a lot higher on it now than I was back then. It's a pretty decent little card. Obviously it helps you ramp. Having a bit of extra mana is pretty helpful in a control deck, and the final ability of refilling your hand, drawing 7 fresh cards, shuffling your graveyard into your library is genuinely really powerful. And not just in the rogues matchup where you get your graveyard back. It's really good against obviously other control and slow grindy decks. Drawing 7 cards well into the game when you're both low on resources can be pretty backbreaking, and it can also lead to some fun scenarios. I've got one game, I think it's one of the games coming up, where I slap one of these down, my opponent slaps one down the turn after, and a couple turns after I play a third one. So I get a refill, play out half my hand, my opponent gets a refill, and I was able to use my hand really aggressively because I knew I had another refill coming up. So that was pretty fun, and honestly the extra mana helps a lot as well, which is why you'll see I've gone a little bit more heavily on the top end compared to the previous version of Dimir Control I was playing. I've brought back 2 Ashioks, I've got a Shadow's Verdict back as well as the Shark Typhoon. So theoretically it's possible to play this on turn 3 and then have a turn 4 Shadow's Verdict or Ashiok. I would very rarely recommend going for the turn 4 Ashiok unless you're against a deck and on a board where it's going to be very difficult for them to deal with. But my problem with Ashiok in Dimir Control lists has been that he's not really a planeswalker that takes over the game the way that you might want for a finisher in a control deck. But Dimir doesn't really have a finisher like that at the moment. Our options are like Ashiok, Lochmere Serpent, obviously Shark Typhoon, Massacre Worm. So Massacre Worm can obviously do some work against small, go wide aggressive decks, but there's not really any of that in the format. Like even Mono White tends to go big on a particular creature with more of the Skyclaves, and anything playing green will, from like turn 2, turn 3 onwards, have things that's way out of range for Massacre Worm. So we don't really have in Dimir finisher that slams the door shut the way, say, Dream Trawler does for Azorius. So that's just the way it is, and something we have to contend with. But yeah, against a lot of decks, slapping this down early on turn 4 is really not going to do much. If you think of against Gruul, for example, you slap this down, they're attacking with a 5/5 that turn. So the tokens are just there chump blocking until there's an inevitable Embercleave, or they're able to go wide and kill it off, or kill off a blocker and get through. You really want to play Ashiok when the board's a little emptier and hands are empty, and it's very difficult for your opponent to answer then. But back on track for a moment. Yeah, I've gone a little more top heavy again because Midnight Clock does provide that element of ramp, and I also sort of realized I need to be a little more intentional with my use of my cards up to that point. I think one of the issues I've had playing Dimir Control is that I'm just always trying to answer something immediately, and that's not always the best thing to do. And that's why I think some of the times I get stuck with a low value Extinction Event or even Shadow's Verdict, because I'm I know I have Extinction Event, but I'm playing out Heartless Act to deal with a 2/2 that's not really a threat, and that could have waited till I'd let my opponent play out a bit more and get a little more value out of it. But there's also just a lot of matches where these things are awkward and difficult to navigate, but it's all part of the process. You see I've got Maze Mind Tone back in the card draw slot. Wanted to try it out again and just sometimes you just have to be a little more patient with activating it. And I've only got 2 because it's not really what I want to be doing on turn 2 in a lot of matchups. I want to be holding up a removal or a counter. And also Midnight Clock helps with the card draw. The other card that might seem a little unfamiliar is Soul Shatter. I think it's a much better card than people give it credit for. Hits creatures or planeswalkers for 3 mana. That's a pretty good deal, kind of like Bedevil. Except it's not targeted, which is a good thing and a bad thing. So the immediate upside of this deals with Dream Trawler. Dream Trawler is not a big thing in the meta at the moment, but there's so many decks that like you play out a Dream Trawler and there's no way for that deck to answer it. So it hedges us against that, but it can also be helpful in the mono-green food matchups where they have Witch's Oven, which derails a lot of your targeted removal. So if you play this and they throw something in the oven, they still have to sacrifice another creature because this doesn't target. It can also be helpful against mono white that has a lot of protection, like Our Seed of Life's Bounty, I think it's called, and Selfless Savior, and even the built-in protection in Seasoned Hallowblade. So this can kill a Seasoned Hallowblade or get rid of, hopefully, their biggest threat, even if they have those other things out to protect it. So it's good for those things. Also pretty cleanly answers Ugin, which is something a lot of the Dimir Control lists don't really have a good answer to. Like Bloodchief's Thirst is the most played thing that can hit a Planeswalker. Murderous Rider isn't particularly popular at the moment, so it just gives you a little bit of flexibility. I'm not saying it's necessarily the right choice, but I wanted to try it out. I like the card. I think possibly you could like cut down 1 or 2 copies of this and have something else if you still wanted to include Soul Shatter for the flexibility. Maybe you'd be better off as a 1 or 2 of. Sideboard is a bit of a mess. Some more removal, more counters. I got the single copy of Whirlwind Denial. I think it's a little undervalued at the moment because it has a lot of interesting applications where, like, with obviously things on the stack, can be really good against Urian decks. If they slap down Urian, exile most of their board, you can stop them from getting it back. But I will probably be changing this to another copy of Mystical Dispute because you really want Mystical Dispute in the Rogues matchup and in other control matchups. This is just way too slow. Even like Neutralize in the Rogues matchup feels really slow. But also even in slow matchups, like control matchups, very quickly you'll get to a point where they can play around this easily and it's basically blank cardboard. So I'll be swapping this out for another Mystical Dispute, or like even another Negate would be good. Skyclave Shade is helpful against other control decks. It's helpful against rogues, but they use it way better than you can, so I don't know that this is necessarily the right choice. I got the other Midnight Clock, another Shadow's Verdict, because I can afford to play it with the ramp, but a couple of Elspeth's Nightmare, really good against rogues, and some other weenie decks. The other interesting thing here is the 3-2 split of Neutralize and Negate. As I was saying, Neutralize is just kind of slow in a lot of matchups, and I feel like main deck Negate is justifiable in the current meta, because even the aggro decks have a fair few targets. If you look at Gruul aggro, like they've got a bunch of adventure creatures, so you can hit those coming down. Obviously, mono white aggro is becoming a lot more popular. It's probably the aggro deck I've seen the most the last few days. But this can still hit a Maul, it can hit a Basri, it can hit Glass Casket if they're doing that, and sometimes they will to clean up a token from Ashiok and get through for the win. But most decks have at least some target for Negate, so I think it's reasonably safe include in the main deck. But look, I'm going to jump into some games because I've been talking for about 9 minutes now. I do hope you guys enjoy it. I wouldn't run out to craft this list. I'm going to give you that little warning right now off the bat. It definitely needs some tweaking, but we'll see what happens over the coming weeks, how the deck changes. As I said already, I've got a few changes I want to make to the sideboard, but let's jump into some games and I'll catch you guys afterwards.
Okay, play it good.
Yeah, this game is capable. Early removal, got a counterspell, untapped lands, can cycle Shark Typhoon if we have to. Sorry. So we are going to curve out to 3 lands before we play our temple here. So I see red, I expect an aggressive deck. No plays on turns 1 or 2. I'm just wondering if I should cycle the Shark Typhoon there. I'm just going to slap down this Midnight Clock while there's no pressure on the board, and hope we don't get punished too badly, because obviously I have no idea what we're playing against here. Okay, looks like we're up against Big Red. Yeah. So this is fine. Pretty much means the only card in the match that matters is Ugin. Just hitting lands is fine here. Shark Typhoon is a death sentence for them. We will take the 4 here, in case there's something we need to counter. Unlikely. And now we'll blow this up. So it doesn't mean we took 6 damage from it this turn, but that's fine. So if they have Ironcrag Feet, we could see Ugin come down next turn. Okay. That's fine by me. I mean, the damage is all stacking up, isn't it? I'm still taking the 2 for targeting it. So it does mean we're down to 10, which is unfortunate. So this is a slightly more damage version of, damage-based version of Big Red by the looks of it. But this still should be a decent matchup for us. I'm hesitant to just slap down Shark Typhoon because they could have Ironcrag Feet into something devastating here. So we'll make a 4-4 here. And even if my opponent deals with 4-4, we'll draw a card and we do get the Shark Typhoon back relatively soon thanks to Midnight Clock here. Just keep playing out our lands. We'll cycle again at end step. It'd be nice to catch a Crawling Barrens by surprise with the Shark Typhoon, but I don't see it happening. Could be another Soulseer here. Yep. You know, it is unfortunate because I'd obviously much rather have the tokens on the battlefield, but I am getting card advantage here and I will get them back, as I said. 2 neutralizers now is nice as well. And I think from here we can also so we've got 2 neutralize held up, and we can also activate Castle Ventress and or Midnight Clock. Should have cycled this first. I think it's better to just draw the card and have that information before making the scry decision. Seems reasonably safe to tap out here. Another Midnight Clock's pretty nice. So the only unfortunate thing here is I don't have an answer to Crawling Barrens right now. So it seems like a pretty safe bet. They don't have Ironcrag Feet. I'm going to cycle this and see if we hit a removal spell. We do not. Soul Shadow would have been pretty primo there. So the clock will go off here. It is unfortunate that we just lost our counter spell, but we do have a Soul Shatter to deal with in Ugin. I'm just going to play out the Tome. Bit of life gain here seems pretty good. So if they do have an Ugin, they can resolve it and we'll lose our midnight clock. It's a little bit unfortunate. So Hagra Mauling will deal with this Crawling Barrens. Sad Robot. Sure. So I'm just going to make a big old shark here. Six a little difficult for them to deal with, and we'll scry here. Shadow's Verdict is not doing much for me. Take the tap land here. We don't need more land right now. Love to punch down the spell. We are going to punch in for the attack. Yep. So they're trying to diversify here. That's a good move from them. We're safe from an Ugin at the moment because they're tapped pretty low. Them drawing a card is fine. We'll draw a card off the Tome here. Actually, I think we'll cycle this to use our mana a little bit more efficiently. Extinction Event doesn't do much for me, and we'll just keep scrying with this. We do want to gain the life. Either way, we get a useless card out of our hand and draw a card. Spikefield has a bit fine here. Seagate Restoration is a beast here. That was silly. I shouldn't have scried there. There's no... Don't be looking for some explanation. I just gone stuffed up. Shouldn't have attacked there either. Because they can get through with both Crawling Barrens and push me onto a stomp if they have a crossing going in here.
Terror lurks among us.
Okay, it's Ugin time. Storm's Wrath, okay.
Inspiration.
Damn, they got me. Oh no, they don't have the mana. Okay, so they kill Ashiok.
I will be sated elsewhere.
We'll gain a bit of life like this. Gain a little more life like this. And they scoop it up. As I said, it should be a good matchup for us. Okay, so... Eliminate's good here. Bit better than Heartless Act because it can hit the Crawling Barrens. We're unlikely to need Extinction Event or Shadow's Verdict. Elspeth's Nightmare is actually better. Negate seems good here. What we do have to be mindful of is like my sideboarding strategy. You know, bring in Robber of the Rich, bring in Phoenix. So actually, if that is how they're sideboarding, Shadow's Verdict and Elspeth's Nightmare could both come in handy. I am going to bring in Nightmare just because it has discard and it also gets rid of their graveyard, and they'll probably have Ox of Agonist in there. Cling to Dust is good for the same reason. Bloodchief's Thirst is only okay here. I'd really like to bring in the Skyclave Shades. I don't know that that's necessary. Especially when they are running Spikefield Hazard, they have that exile-based removal, so the Shade's not at its best. It's certainly not bad. But this hand is okay, it's definitely not amazing. If they have got an aggressive sideboarding strategy, we probably get run over. But we got to find that out sometime or another. If this is land, it goes to the bottom. That's simple. Okay, so they got Spikefield Hazard. That's fine. They've obviously got a lot of land in hand if they're willing to burn it like that. Yep, Robber of the Rich. Actually did us a favor there, we don't want land. Okay, so no Phoenix is something. Unfortunately, the Robber by itself just doesn't apply that much pressure. Obviously, we could see a sad robot come down here, but next turn I can cycle the Shark Typhoon to trade with the Robber. And we will do that. It does mean they can follow up with Ironcrag into Ugin if that's their game plan. We didn't see an Ugin from them last game. But yeah, if they Ironcrag into something big, we can Ashiok and bounce it. Midnight Clock, that's cute. Cute that they got that. They could have a burn spell here. Doesn't seem like it. Okay, they're just going for Midnight Clock. just going to slam Ashy up here, start ticking up. Obviously, I can bounce the clock back to my hand, and I may do that in the next few turns, but at the moment I want to get some pressure on board. If I do bounce Midnight Clock, though, I have to exile from my hand.
Must be subdued.
Okay, there's the Phoenix.
I will haunt your dreams.
Okay, so we have exactly enough mana to next turn neutralize something, then Heartless Axe the Phoenix of Ash, and then click to dust it out of the graveyard. And we're going to get this trigger regardless, so there's not much I can do about that. I should have neutralized this robber, as I'm not really thinking. Getting a bit of life here as well, which is always nice. That's fine, I'm not going to fight over that. Seago Restoration's pretty nice, but I don't think I can afford to cast it right now. So again, I'm going to tick up, make a blocker, and then next turn I'll think about bouncing this Midnight Clock and dumping a land.
Among us.
Okay, so they choose to attack. Of course, they've got a Bloodchief's Thirst hidden behind it. And I don't have enough mana to protect it with a counterspell. That's unfortunate. Does take most of their turn though. Oh, okay, they're getting Storm's Wrath instead. Do they have a follow-up? Yep, Bloodchief's Thirst doesn't work now. That's strange. Stops me from bouncing Midnight Clock for a few more turns.
Creeping, feeding blood.
So we're just going to get this down. Doesn't do anything this turn, but next turn we can have a peek at our opponent's hand. Brought in Shredded Sails, and the only one who's played an artifact is them. Ooh, Shark Typhoon. I don't know if they can cycle it. I think they can only cast it. So I'm not going to go for the green play, I'm just going to bounce this now. And I'll exile this swamp because I don't need it. Okay, and they scoop it off. Take the play. Cool, so we're going to lead on this temple. This hand's okay. If it's a creature-based deck, we've got a lot of early removal. And if it's not, we've got a Shark Typhoon. Negate's a good hedge as well. Helps flesh out this hand a little bit. Because we drew that. Actually, no, it doesn't matter. Yep, so I'm just going to play this. So we have negate held up now. I've drawn a blue source, so I can more freely play that with black. We'll bolt the bird here. Thirst the Florahedron, as it were. This is probably mono green food. Another Florahedron. So we'll play this now because it has to be tapped no matter what happens. On to Dizzle. Playing this, I can hold up Shatter and Negate, if that's relevant. So I didn't think the food decks tended to play Brontodon, so this could just be some sort of mono green, Stumpy. Kazandu Mammoth. Sure. So we'll fire this off now. They probably sacrificed the Brontodon, yep. Because Kazandu Mammoth can grow big and enable a henge. We'll just kill the Mammoth now. We'll pay the 3 here. Just to have Negate held up. Mammoth, sure. I mean, more land's always good, but I don't think it's what I'm looking for right now. Could be taking a big hit here. Can't quite make something big enough to kill off the Mammoth. So we'll just make a little 1-1, just to chump some damage. I would have liked to hit an untap land there and make a 5-5 to properly deal with this Mammoth, but that was not to be. And if this is a henge, we've got Negate for it. Yeah, it's not, it's Wicked Wolf. So from what I've heard, this is probably a bad matchup for me. I remember a week or so ago on Spikes, someone was complaining about really struggling in this matchup against Food as Dimir Control, and a lot of people in the comments saying that yeah, that's just about how it goes. So I can play this down and start chumping out blockers. I think I'd rather just hold up the shadow. And this way I still have neutralize if they need it. So they sacrifice the wolf here. And I've got either neutralize or I can kill it out. But I really need to start gaining some life here. Pretty happy to counter that. Heartless Act or such like would be really nice here. Nope, it's a land. So I'll just deal with the mammoth. It does mean our Ashiok can be killed by this crawling barons, but there's every chance they just send that on our face for the extra damage. Given that it'll put us down on 1. Nope, they do go for Ashiok.
Never forget my voice.
Bit of extra life is very welcome here. Oh, why would it do that? Why would it tap both our barons? I need to chunk with one of those. So the plan was to chunk with one of the barons. But instead we're going to go down to 3 here. Yeah, I don't think we can fight through this. Unfortunately. So Nightmare's probably good here. Eliminate Cling to Dust, definitely. Even Shadow's Verdict probably has a place here. I do actually want to keep some amount of counter spells. Probably need Midnight Clock as well to keep going into the long game. So Ashiok, not fantastic here to be honest. But I'm a bit loath to cut down on our win conditions. Probably cut down on the firsts. Do I really want another Cling to Dust? I mean, I know it answers a Troll King if it's in the graveyard, but that's... I mean, it's my only answer to it, though. Three clocks should be fine. This is tough. Okay, I'm just going to keep one Cling to Dust. Negate's still important here. Okay, we're just going to try like this. Sure, it's as good as anything else. Obviously we're going to lead on Restoration here. Tormod's Crypt. Sure, that doesn't really bother me. Maybe they think I'm playing rogues. I mean, it shuts down half of what Midnight Clock does when it goes off, but that's... I don't know. I don't know why they brought this in, to be honest. Kill this because I don't want them ramping. Set some stops just to bluff here. Yeah, why are they playing Montadon in their main deck on a food list? That seems very strange to me. I'm just going to make a 1-1 here. It's going to be a little while before Shark Typhoon is actually relevant, and we're going to be taking a beating in the meantime. Should have left this back as a blocker, but I was thinking if they play Wicked Wolf, I lose it anyway. But I've got the Shadow's Verdict, so I would have encouraged them to play a bit more. I was thinking like, I hold on back rolling, but I haven't played my lands properly to do that anyway. Okay, so I'll get a little bit of value out of my Verdict here. So the only sort of blessing we have here is that our opponents miss some land drops. But they definitely have the ways to... I'm just going to blow this up now. They definitely have ways to find lands through sacking food and whatnot. So next turn, hopefully, I'll just be able to hardcast the Typhoon. Wicked Wolf, sure. So I can make a 1, 2, 5, 5 Shark next turn if I want to. I'm going to try hardcasting it. Obviously, Brontodon will make me cry. But this sticking around is realistically my best chance of winning this game. Okay, yep. That's good. I think they misunderstood what would happen there. But overall, that was a very good turn for us. Make a few sharkies here. I'm just going to take this damage. Don't really want to sacrifice my Sharky boys. It would have been nice to draw that instead of one of these. Be in a position to actually do something about this Vivian.
Diversity is our greatest strength.
At least we can get rid of the henge. And I'll hopefully catch Troll King on the way down. I don't want to attack yet. Because I don't want to give them a reason to sack for food. No, there's no way where that play actually works out the way I want it to.
Nice hit. My turn.
I'm going to try and draw a card here. A removal spell would be choice. That's not it, unfortunately.
Every day is a new mutation.
So we need to cycle this now then. So we'll kill off this Crawling Barrens. I was trying to play around a Witch's Oven to explain my thought process before. I was like, oh, if I counter this, they can just throw something in the Witch's Oven. I forgot this is Tormod's Crypt, not Witch's Oven. So I'm going to kill this Crawling Barrens here. And unfortunately, we no longer have an answer to Feasting Troll King. This Vivian really ruined our plan of racing with Shark Typhoon.
You fight like a hatchling.
Yeah, that's not what I wanted. That's very unfortunate.
Beauty lies in variation.
So I need something pretty big here. Extinction event off the top would be really nice. Okay, now I'm just dead. Should have blocked there. That's entirely my bad. No, well. Alright, and we're back. So we got a win and a loss there. Obviously, Mono Green Food is just a bad matchup for Dimir Control. There's no two ways about that, even though I did not play that game perfectly. So one of the biggest obstacles I've had to playing Control decks this format is really been my playing. I've not been piloting them well, and it's frustrating for me to sort of see that, because I know I'd gotten quite good in War of the Spark and M20 standard. I'd gotten really good with my sequencing and a lot of my lines playing Grixis Bolus Control. And just seeing myself constantly making mistakes and realizing right afterwards is a little disheartening for me. But I think it's just something I need to be aware of, and it's probably good for me to just have some other decks to play on days where I'm a little more tired, have a little bit less focused attention to devote to what I'm doing. But yeah, also the deck list obviously needs some tweaking as well, so I'll probably look at some of the pro lists and make a few changes over the coming days or week. I've pretty much given up on Grixis at the moment. I do have some lists that were sent to me by Outplayed that I have played around with a little bit, and I may put up some gameplay on the channel, but honestly, I think the mana base is just terrible for Grixis at the moment. We just don't have the right lands to accommodate things with double blue, double black, and still have red, and particularly double red for Croxer. Playing Pathways, it's relatively free in a 2-color deck like this, but in a 3-color deck, it's a real choice, and it's quite limiting. If I play out a red source, I can't hit turn 3 neutralize, for example. Or even on turn 4, I may not have the option of neutralize or Hagra Mauling, for example. Or, it makes it really difficult to have the option of playing double blue and double black. And I think it requires a very focused and intentional mana base and deck build. There are some real costs in deck building to try and incorporate that third color, particularly when there aren't all the pathways. Might be a little easier once Kaldheim comes out, but even then there will be real considerations around how many pips, how many colored pips you can afford to run. So that was one of my considerations building this deck. I tried to get some I've tried to reduce some of the pips somewhat, which is another thing that drew me to Whirlwind Dinar, but Whirlwind Dinar is just not good enough. Play Neutralize, guys. Neutralize is pretty disappointing as a counter spell, to be honest. The cycling is an almost non-existent upside, but it's the best option at the moment. But yeah, look, I might still put up some videos with some of those Grixis lists, but for the moment, in terms of actually playing competitively and trying to win, stick to 2 colors, guys. It's just not worth the trade-off in mana inconsistency and deck building constraints. But enough of me rambling. I'm going to cut this one off here. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Stay brilliant, and I'll catch you all in the next video.